Kenzie Knox and welcome to my YouTube channel. Today I decided to paint this nice little winter landscape painting that I thought you might enjoy painting along with me. So to begin off with, I'm working on 11 by 14 primed canvas, and I've added some paints to my canvas including lemon yellow, cadmium orange, light blue violet, phthalo blue, and titanium white. So go ahead and add those to your canvas and we're going to start painting. So starting off with a 1-inch mop brush, we're going to tap into our titanium white, a little bit of lemon yellow, and we're going to start painting that into our canvas. And blend that in starting around 1/3 of the way down your canvas. And we're going to grab some orange and bring that up, keeping our mop brush dirty. So just adding some white, some yellow, and some orange. We're just going to brighten up the sky a bit. So just keep adding those layers in until you get a bright orangey yellow color sky that you like for the sunset. You can keep adding yellow or keep adding orange as much as you'd like to brighten it up. Sorry for the wobbling of my canvas, it's not quite sturdy. And once you're done with that, I'm almost done here, I promise. We're going to move on to the next step, so we're just going to grab some titanium white and a little bit of lemon yellow on a clean brush, so clean off your brush. We're going to make a buttery yellow color, add a little bit of orange in there too, and we're going to add this into our snow, so it's going to sort of reflect the sky in this area. So just make it a light yellow color with a slight orange tinge to it, and we're just going to add this to the bottom half of our canvas, not all the way down, but most of the way down. The bottom of our canvas will be I believe light blue violet and titanium white to bring in some shadow and to create a sort of a vignette sort of effect. So now we're tapping into our white and light blue violet, mixing that up a little bit on our palette, but not too much, and then we're going to bring it onto our canvas, on the bottom portion of our canvas that is. Once we're done with painting our bottom portion of our canvas, we can move on to the top portion, which we're going to paint in the top of the sky with that same color of light blue violet and titanium white. So be a little careful when you paint in this top portion. You don't want the paint to turn green, but as long as you have titanium white in there with the light blue violet, it really shouldn't turn green at all. Another option is to wait till it dries and then go over some of the top portion of that sky with the light blue violet and titanium white. This will prevent it from turning that green shade that you don't want. You can start off by painting it white and then go over it again once it dries, or if you're lucky and it doesn't turn green, then you're set to go, I guess. Next, we're going to grab some phthalo blue and some titanium white on a clean mop brush. I'm going to use that same mop brush that I use, that 1-inch mop brush, and go over the top portion of that sky area, darkening it up just a bit. So our light is coming from the top right-hand side of the canvas, so we want the top left-hand side of our canvas to be pretty dark. And I'm just going to go over a little bit of the sky with a lighter shade of that phthalo blue and titanium white, and then try to blend it all in together nice and smoothly. We really want that orange part of that sky to be brilliant orange in shade. That's our main focus. It's this really brilliant background sunset that'll come through the trees. So continue painting in that phthalo blue and titanium white until you're happy with the transition. And then we're going to move on to tapping into some foliage. So grabbing some phthalo blue and some white, making a darker shade of that phthalo blue color, we're going to go ahead and start tapping in some foliage in the background. Maybe these are tree tops, maybe they're bushes, maybe it's just some foliage. I'm not really sure what it is, but we're just going to tap it in, and we're going to create a shorter area in the center of the canvas and make it larger as it goes out to the outside of the canvas. And again, make sure you don't cover up all that brilliant orange shade that we made, because we really want that to come through our foliage that we're going to create in the foreground. So go ahead and wash off that brush and grab some burnt sienna, add that to your palette, and grab your liner brush or your script liner brush, and we're going to dip into some water and put that into our burnt sienna, and we're going to start creating some grasses out here in the middle of the field. So just throw in some lines, some crazy lines over here. Make sure they're shorter in the background and longer in the foreground. So now we're moving into the foreground area where these grasses will be taller than the background area, or the midground area, I guess, whatever you consider that. And we're just going to tap in some just random grasses, nothing spectacular, or nothing that we're really going to focus on. It's just creating some foliage. Then we're going to add some Mars Black to our canvas, some raw umber to our canvas, and grab our size 2 flat brush, or a small flat brush. These are very small flat brushes. I don't know if they're miniature detail brushes or what they are, but in the end this was too small, so I ended up grabbing my size 6 flat brush. If yours works, if your small flat brush works, go ahead and use that. We're gonna paint in some trees now. So using the side of my flat brush, we're going to use it the long way so that it creates skinnier tree trunks, and then the more pressure you apply, the thicker the tree trunk. And then we're going to turn it completely horizontally and create a large tree trunk right here with that burnt sienna, and then create another skinny guy right next to it. And another one right here. You can add these wherever you'd like, but we're going to go from this lighter burnt sienna to a darker raw umber color as we move to the right of the canvas. So now grabbing some black, we're going to create some maple trees, and we're just going to plant that in right here. Just 2 little maple trees. And if your paint is still dry, you might pick up some of the background color. That's okay if you can just go over it. If you can't go over it, then just wait a minute and for your paint to dry, and then add in your trees after it dries. You can always come back to this if you need to. We're going to move on to the next step, which is using raw umber, and we're going to paint in some trees over here. And make sure you don't put in too many trees that you cover the background. Remember, these are going to be evergreen trees. So grabbing our fan brush, this is a small size fan brush, we're going to tap into our raw umber, and we're going to just start tapping in the foliage. I know it's typically sap green or black, but we're using raw umber because of the sunset. The way that the trees are going to appear is going to be a raw umbery / orangey shade. So we went with raw umber for the evergreen trees. Go ahead and rinse out that brush and go back to your script liner brush. We're going to dip into our raw umber using lots of water, and we're going to create some twiggy trees over here. So just create some wild lines going from the ground up. And create another little bushel of twigs over here too. You can be really creative or just let your brush flow over here. Don't be too specific. You don't need to be. These are going to be slightly hidden by some trees that are behind them. So we're just creating a couple of these twiggy bushes, I guess you could call them. And just have fun with your liner brush. This is a great time to practice. I forgot how easy it is to use a liner brush on canvas rather than on mixed media paper that's been primed with gesso. So it's really nice. Grabbing some raw umber now, or burnt umber, burnt sienna, I'm so sorry. Grabbing some burnt sienna, we're going to tap in some twigs on these trees. This is really great practice for our script liner brush. And just create random twigs and branches coming off of the trees. Again, we're going to tap in some foliage, so you don't have to be too particular about these branches. So just go ahead and paint them in and have fun. As I said before, this painting can be completed by beginners, intermediate, and even advanced level painters. It's really up to you how detailed you want to go. If you're a beginner painter, please remember that you can slow down this video or you can pause it if you needed to complete each and every little step that we take. And you don't have to be as detailed as I am. You can just do the basics. Don't worry too much about that. Just have fun. And we're still continuing to add on branches. And this is one of my favorite parts to do. I love adding little details like this. It's really relaxing for me because I can just zone out and just focus on the painting and enjoy the process and not worry about the next step, just adding in branches wherever I feel that they might be needed. Alright, so now we can rinse off our brush and we're going to tap into our black using our script liner brush, and we're going to create some twigs off of the off of the birch trees that we've created, and we'll go in afterwards and add the white specks. I know I created a painting the other day that I created birch trees with a red robin, and the birch trees look like cows. That's how I felt they were, but I mean, there is no wrong birch tree. You cannot paint in a birch tree wrong, so that's just something to keep in mind. I don't know why I mentioned that, but just thought I'd mention that. You can probably see the painting. Anyways, add sap green to your painting or your palette. Grab a 1-inch melt brush and tap into some sap green. And we're going to add this to the trees with the burnt sienna. Do not add them to your maple trees. We're going to add a different color foliage to those trees. So keep these to the right of the canvas. And you can add in as much foliage as you'd like, but remember we kind of want to see the background a bit, so don't add in too much because we're going to cover that with some snow. Okay, now we're going to switch to our size 6 flat brush. Tap into our burnt sienna, and fix that tree. We should have done 2 layers over that tree, but I forgot. I'm sorry. It's quite transparent in color, and so most of the time burnt sienna needs 2 layers of color to cover whatever's behind it. But luckily there's not too much behind there, so you might not even need to do this step. Going back to our 1-inch mop brush, I simply wiped it off on a paper towel and then picked up some light blue violet and titanium white, and we're just covering some of the foliage, not covering it, adding on top of the foliage, not covering it completely, some snow. Wiping off my brush again, I'm just grabbing some additional white, titanium white and light blue violet and some orange, and this is going to make a little pinky shade that we're going to cover. It's like a pinky orange shade, and I'm sorry this isn't on, oh right there, you can see it. It's a little more orange than pink, but we're just going to go ahead and add that to our birch trees. You can add a little bit of yellow to this if you want to, but we don't want it to exactly match the sunset color, but we want it to look as if it's reflecting the sunset onto these leaves over here. Taking my fan brush now, back to that small fan brush, we're going to add some light blue violet to the left side of the trees, which are going to be shadowed. And this is adding our snow layer. Then we're going to tap into our titanium white with a little bit of that peachy orange shade and tap in some highlights for the snow. And again, the snow is reflecting the sunset, which is why we added some of this orangey shade or this peachy shade to the foliage or to the snow. Grabbing some titanium white, we're just going to transition that together and mix that in the middle areas of our trees. Grabbing a new mop brush, a 1-inch mop brush, or you can wipe off your other mop brush and get it really clean or wash it off and let it dry. And I happen to add some luminous opera to my palette, or fluorescent pink if you have it, and I added some titanium white to fluorescent pink to create this light pink color, this bubblegum pink color, and we're going to add this to our foliage to the farthest on the right. And already this looks like a beautiful landscape painting. You can almost call it complete at this point by adding in some shadows, but we're going to add in some further foliage. I'm just going to tap some of this pink over that orangey shade just to change it up a bit so that it doesn't blend into the background as much. Once I'm done with that, I'm going to clean up that brush, grab my size 6 flat brush, and I'm going to tap into my raw umber, and I'm going to create a tree that's going to go up this way. I'm going to grab some more paint, create another tree going this way. And these ones are closer to us, so they're going all the way off the canvas in all different directions, trying not to cover up that evergreen on the left of the tree. To our script liner brush, we're going to tap into that raw umber and make sure it's wet with water so we have an inky consistency, and we're just going to fill in some of these areas that might not have taken on the paint so well because it's partially wet. But anyways, we're going to add some branches that are bent over, so have them hanging over as if they're covered with snow and they're just hanging heavily to the sides. And again, have fun with this. You can create as many branches or as few branches as you'd like. Remember, we don't want to cover the entire background. We want some of that sunset to come through. But again, have fun with this. Create as many branches or as little as you'd want. Just make sure that they're hanging over sideways if you want them to be covered in snow. And if you don't want to, you can have them going straight up or to the sides. It really is up to you as a painter, as a creator. Continuing on, I'm still creating some branches. Sorry that this is taking me so long. Again, if you're a beginner, take your time. Pause the video if you need to. You can add them where I am, or you can place them wherever you'd like. It's up to you. But feel free to take your time like I am. And remember, we don't want to cover up so much of that orange that we can't see it. Here I'm just fixing up the tree trunk, trying to darken it a little bit. And with branches, you can start at the end of the branch and bring it forward, or start from the tree and bring it outward. It's really up to you. Sometimes it's easier to bring it one direction than it is another direction, or to go up and down with it. It's really, sometimes it's up to the grain of the canvas, or, you know, up to the grain of the gesso that you apply. Just make sure that you're consistency of your paint is quite thin. Okay, so now we're going to add some more twiggy branches coming up from the ground, a twiggy tree, I'll call it. And we'll create another little twiggy thing coming out over this way. And then we'll just add some branches to these twigs, making sure that we pick up plenty of paint along the way each time. So be patient. Each time you create a twig or a branch, you're most likely going to have to dip back into your palette and grab up some more paint. Do not become frustrated if you feel like you keep running out of paint, because you will keep running out of paint using a script liner brush. If you're more comfortable using a skinny round brush or a small round brush, you can use that too. Although I find that you can't create as thin of twigs using a small round brush, or I have not mastered that yet. So I like the script liner brush for that thin, branchy, flowy like creation that you can make. So switching over to a small little flat brush, or filbert brush, filbert brush. We're going to grab some light blue violet and create some shadows for these trees. I believe I'm using a size 4 filbert brush for this. And we're just going to tap in where we think the shadows would be, coming from the sun, which is in our top right hand corner. So just create those shadows coming this way, coming to the bottom left hand corner, that is. And we're going to create some shadows around the grasses out in the field as well. Don't forget about those, and in the midground or foreground too. And then don't forget about these trees over here and these little twiggy branches. And we're just going to shadow in the far bottom right hand corner too. We kind of want to create a vignette-like effect. So as we did on top, we create that vignette using the phthalo blue. We're going to use the light blue violet on the bottom to create that vignette effect. And once you're satisfied with your shadows, we can move on to the next step. So switching over to our size 8 filbert brush, we're going to create another evergreen tree, I believe, tapping into our sap green. We're going to create a little evergreen right over here, just a little guy. And we're just going to tap in the foliage using this little filbert brush. You can use a fan brush if you'd like. I'm just showing you different techniques and methods to creating these types of trees. And then we're going to tap into our light blue violet and create the shadow of the snow on the left side, and tap into some titanium white to create the snow highlights on the right hand side. Then going back to our script liner brush, we're going to tap into our burnt sienna, and we're going to create another twiggy bush or twiggy tree over here. And so just create some branches over here, and take your time and be free with your brush. Just let it go in any direction it feels like going in. Again, feel free to slow down this tutorial if you need to, but we're going to create another twiggy tree over here. Remember to dip your paintbrush into the paint every once in a while, more often than not. And then we're going to create another twiggy tree over here. Just a small little guy. And then we're just going to continue adding branches, and then we're going to create another one right here. Just another small one. Adding as many or as few branches as you'd like to. And then we're finally going to switch over to our 1-inch mop brush again. I have lots of these, obviously. And we're going to dip into some yellow, some titanium white, and some orange. And we're just going to tap in some peachy foliage over here and over here. This is going to be more peachy than the colors we used above, more orangey. And then we're going to add this foliage over here too, on this other twiggy branch. And up top to our trees. And you can tell I used more light blue, violet and titanium white for these trees over here than I did the other ones. And going to our small little filbert brush, or I'm sorry, this is 00 round brush. We're going to go ahead and add some snow to our trees using titanium white. So just top off some of these trees with some highlights. It'll be really bright white snow. And you can add this to as many branches or as few branches as you'd like. It's really up to you. But it's also adding some highlights to the trees as well. So we'll go down the tree trunks. And up the tree trunks. And then we're going to take that peachy shade that we made for the foliage, add some titanium white to it, and we're going to fill in our maple tree. So you can just fill in little specks here and there because maple trees are white and black. There is no right or wrong to these trees. So just fill in some areas and it'll look like a maple tree in the distance. Really can't go wrong here. Take more of that peachy shade and we're just going to add some highlights to the tree. Switch up the snow colors a little bit. And then we're going to add some snow down to these little twiggy trees too, using that same color. And continue adding the snow until you're satisfied. And then once you're done, you can go ahead and rinse off your brush. And we're going to take our size 4 filbert brush, tap into our light blue violet, and we're going to go ahead and add some shadows down to these twiggy trees. And then we're also going to add it to the left-hand side of our canvas and the right-hand corner of our canvas to bring the viewer's attention to the center of the canvas, basically. Be careful for wet paint, but you can always fix it, so don't worry about that. So just scumbling in some snowy areas over here, some shadowy areas over on the corners of the canvas, the bottom corners that is. And that about wraps up our painting. So I hope you enjoyed this YouTube tutorial. I know I did. I thought it was nice and peaceful and relaxing. Please remember to like this video and to subscribe to my YouTube channel for upcoming releases. And until next time, I'll see you guys later. Okay, bye.